Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have James Roumeliotis, Christopher Jerjian, and David Horsewood. And I would like to ask the question, is the saying, never be the smartest person in the room, snobby or ridiculous? James, can you kick us off, please?
Sure, absolutely. I don't think it's snobby or ridiculous. If anything, it means having humility and not perceiving yourself as the smartest person in the room. If you believe you're the smartest person, you will feel and act like the smartest, and that will eventually turn people away from you.
Yeah, I'll just add that I don't know how long ago I learned this, but it was long enough ago that I've lived with it for a while. And that is truly everyone is my superior in some way. And if I will just hear them out, even if I don't agree with what they first say, they're going to get to something that I'm going to find useful. Because presuming they're employed, presuming they're alive and kicking, presuming they're engaging with the world, presuming that they're just somebody out there mixing it up, they've got something to say. They've got something to say. I recently, with some father-son time with my son, we were talking about gray hair and, looking at age versus youth and how the youth have the strength and the gray hair shows some wisdom. The truth is, people of all ages have experienced things I haven't. People of all ages have learned things that I haven't. And I just know that if everyone is my superior in some way, that also means I'm someone's superior in some way. And we just need to get to know each other a little better so we can find out how we can help each other.
Interesting. It brings to mind the Michael Dell quote that try never to be the smartest person in the room. And if you are, I suggest you invite smarter people or find a different room, which I thought was actually a really interesting quote, because it's what is smart, and it depends what the sort of the room is. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to do? And I would sort of put myself in my business, and smart people aren't always the best people for that room. And what I mean is people with a lot of experience in a specific field that you need to be in that room should be in that room. They don't have to be extra smart or super smart, but they've got the skills and the knowledge and the experience. And if that's what you're trying to tap. So say we're doing sort of some vision building in a particular project that we're doing, I would still want my engineer, my architect, certain people to be in that room, because they're going to have input that, visionaries cannot imagine, because it's not in their wheelhouse. But that's just my perspective on it. But I agree. If you think you're the smartest person in the room, maybe you're a little arrogant, and you should, rethink your, especially if you think that every time, then there's something wrong. You should start, doing some introspection. But generally, like David said, a lot of people have a lot of things to offer that you might not be exposed to or have been exposed to, which could lend a lot to that particular meeting.
Yeah, and for me, the idea of never be the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, I think that it's snobby. To your point, James, I love the way you kind of frame that about you need to be humble. That's the word you used, humility, right? About other people. And David, you said it, so did you, Chris, about other people have things that you can learn from them. And so to think that, oh, if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. Yeah, I don't want you in my room. You're obnoxious is kind of the way I think. So let's talk about a little bit, if you're in a room, and all of us are reasonably intelligent humans, it's possible we could have the highest IQ in a room. It's a thing. But even if you are, what are some things that you can ask people that you could bring them out, that you could learn from them? How do you do that in a room?
Well, I think the single best way to have a conversation go in a good direction is to ask a good question. And anytime I've ever been in a one-on-one with someone or a small meeting with someone or even a larger conference, it's typically only getting stale or boring or useless if people have stopped asking a good question and then following that up with another good question. So how could I get more specific right now during this call? I don't know, because it depends on the topic. But that's the key. The key to making the time well spent is somebody stepping forward with a good question, a challenging question, a thought-provoking question. And that I have always found works.
Picking their brain, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
I enjoy doing that with so-called smart people. First of all, how do you define smart in this context? Would it be intelligent, savvy, or both?
I don't know where this comes from. I think it's just a phrase that's been in the atmosphere for a while. but an ounce of wisdom is worth a pound of intelligence. And arguably, you could say that wisdom is being able to apply your smarts or being able to apply your intelligence in relevant ways. So you're not just proving what you know, you're explaining what works, or you're improving effectiveness or something along those lines. And there's some really smart people who are not really good at effectively improving things.
Yeah, interesting. It reminds me of a friend telling me, a very successful friend telling me that his father was just a simple electrician, and a really good father. And he only realized how intelligent his father was when he used to sit with him and watch Jeopardy in a senior's home many years later. And his father was able to answer literally every question that came up. Every night, he used to go and watch Jeopardy with his dad as their way of bonding. And he said, I didn't realize how intelligent he was. And it has nothing to do with your profession or he had this wealth of knowledge, of general knowledge that I had no idea, and I couldn't answer half the questions. So, it's smart is all relative. There's emotional intelligence, there's, IQ intelligence, there's a whole, having people skills and knowing how to deal with people is one type of smart that a lot of people don't have. So, yeah.
Well, and I feel like there's kind of two pieces to smart. There's the ability to learn, and then there's the opportunity to learn. And if you don't have both of those, then you could come across as not being smart, even if you are.
Interesting.
Because
I think today, one of the main things that people use as an indication of lack of intelligence is bad grammar. And it actually has nothing to do with intelligence. An adult with bad grammar, 100% of the time, was raised in an environment where no one held them accountable for good grammar, because there's not a kid anywhere who's going to hold him or herself accountable for good grammar. So I happen to have parents who held me accountable, and I went to a high school where they held me accountable, but not everybody did. And the truth is, there are brilliant people with bad grammar.
That's an interesting point. Yeah. So you could be in a room with someone who has bad grammar, and you might think, oh, I'm in the wrong room, when in reality, they could teach you a lot.
Yep.
Yeah. So
then if you happen to be,
go ahead, James.
And then if you happen to be in a leadership position, you want your advisors to be smarter than you, or you might as well just advise yourself, right? I mean, many of your employees don't need to be brilliant, just competent. But if you're going to prosper, at least some of them should be smarter than you.
So why do you think the saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, resonates so much with people? Like when you say that to people, they're like, yeah, get in a different room. Why does that resonate so much when the four of us have clearly said that's not a thing?
Well, I think it's a conflation with you're not learning anything from those people in the room, so hence they can't be smart. It just might not be their skill sets that you need in that particular room. But I think that's probably where it comes from, that you're not learning anything, you're not gaining anything by being in that room from those other people. That's sort of the litmus test. But like you said, people have different areas where they're really smart, and it might not be as the knowledge base that's required in that particular room at the time that you're in it and you're making that judgment.
I firmly believe if I'm not learning anything from someone, to David's point, I'm not asking the right questions.
Yeah, I've always found questions to just be the way to get good answers. That's probably the best way to say it. Questions are the way to get good answers. And if you're getting bad answers, you probably aren't asking very good questions.
And I guess you have to be very curious to ask questions, right? And you have to be very interested in the subject matter as well.
Well, I can definitely.
To your point, or I'm sorry,
David,
throw this
please.
out there real quick. You asked, why do so many people like the phrase? I think you could apply that to quite a number of the catchy little one-liners that are floating around out there that frankly just don't have any depth to them. Somebody said it one time, probably a famous person, and it was kind of catchy, so it just kind of caught on. But I don't think anybody actually lives their life that way. I don't think most people, even if they like the phrase, are constantly dropping friends and looking for smarter people. And if they are, you can smell them from a mile away because they're users. All they want is what they can get from other people. And we avoid people when we can tell all they want is to get, and they're not really looking to give anything.
And I think that's a great place to end this conversation. That is our 10 minutes. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. And I look forward to speaking to each of you again very soon.